calling our commission meeting to order at 5:30 p.m. This time we'll ask Commissioner Aldridge if he would lead us in prayer and our Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this day that you've blessed us with, Lord. And I thank you so much for our home here in the city of Lynn Haven, Florida, Father. Lord, I thank you for every individual that came out tonight to this meeting, Lord, to take part in the governing process of our society, Lord. And Father, in accordance to your word, I pray for wisdom, Lord, godly wisdom to be used in all decisions made tonight by the commission. We love you and praise you in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time we'll have our public commentary. Yes.
Mayor, this is more of a question for you. Christy McElroy, Port St. Joe. I was looking at the consent agenda and your potential lease with GAC. Will there be a chance when you're voting for the consent agenda for the public to address that?
No.
Okay, generally when you do a consent agenda, you ask for a vote, and sometimes there'll be discussion from public.
You can do it right now.
Yeah, you can make your comments now, but we
Okay.
don't have open discussion on consent agenda.
I'd rather my 3 minutes not be taken for my question, if you don't mind. I guess my main concern is GAC has been selling off portions of their business, as you all may know. And so, you know, Adam Albritton, who's supposed to be sentenced next week, and I hope you all wrote Judge Walker a letter. I certainly did, and it's gone into the docket. I really think y'all need to think seriously about leasing and who is the true owner of the buildings that you say are GAC's, because I think C.W. Roberts has bought part of GAC. And so who will be your actual landlord? And who negotiated that contract to begin with? I know you were in dire straits, it was after a storm. But Adam Albritton was representing Derwin White in a number of his companies, and also at the same time had a title company and ran some of the properties y'all sold and bought through his title company. So when it comes to this lease for these buildings, I think you need to look long and hard, and you need to divulge to the public who the landlord is. Is it Alan Bentz? Is it Lynn White? Is it another company? Who's going to be signing that lease? And $23,000 a month, that's a lot of money, and y'all been paying it every single month since you put those buildings in. It's just a shame. It's a shame for the taxpayers.
Thank you. Additional public commentary.
George Hines, 1603 Rhode Island Avenue. I came up meeting before last, and I talked about the controversy of the 3 minutes you get to speak. All over the government, I've been here for more than 60 years. They only get 3 minutes to speak anywhere you go. So not taking anybody's civil rights if they don't get 3 minutes to speak. I talked about the racism part, and I got no more comments at the last meeting. The young lady that said that the only one race is the human race, I've been a part of the human race all my life, and we didn't hit that always been fair. And that's what I was talking about, the racism. Racism is not just only a person, it's also a thing. It can be an organization, it can be legislation, it can be goals, policies, all that can be racism. So it was not about a person, it was about the situation of the city. We have had 3 minutes for the last 25 years I've been coming to meetings. All of a sudden they're saying they're losing their rights. They didn't lose their rights. They had the same rights everybody else has. 3 minutes is 3 minutes. Last week, I looked online, and the man came up, showed me his passport and everything, his qualifications. I have the same qualifications, I have the same passport. I've been an American citizen all my life. Some people think they're better than I am. That's not true to them, that's not true to me. I'm human just like they are. Treat me with respect, I treat them with respect. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional public commentary?
I will respond to that last comment by Mr. Hines.
Can you state your name and your address,
Jerry
please?
Parker, Rhett Place. If you have proof of racism, bring it on. Other than the fact that we disagree, bring it on. And Mayor, you should be saying something about this. Are you 100% right all the time? No. Is any of us right 100% of the time? No. Does disagreement make us racist? No. And you should be calling that out. Because just because someone's color of skin disagrees with you does not make you a racist. And if you don't call that out, silence is an answer.
Thank you. Additional public commentary? Mayor's report. You probably wouldn't want me to call out the racism that I've seen in the community, because I've seen it. My family has experienced it. My child has experienced it in school. My daughter has experienced it. So you may not want me to call that out. There are people in this room that have been racist. So does racism exist? I think the issue depends on what do we define as racism. And that's the argument, is that as a black man in America, my definition of racism is probably different than a white American's definition. So we'll never agree on what is racism because we all have different definitions of it. So I just choose to let others have their definition of racism. If it's something you'd like to discuss, we can talk one-on-one, and I can give you my perspectives on what I've experienced and what I've seen. We also have conversations about racism with pastors. Every month we get together twice a month and we sit down and we talk about the racial issues that we see in our community. But it's not just because somebody thinks differently that we think someone is racist. But I think it's something, that if you have an issue, you sit down and you talk with somebody about it. But on to the other part of my report, I'd like to really just focus on the mayor's town hall. Have some other things that we could discuss, but just like to highlight the mayor's town hall. Though it was on St. Patrick's Day, we still had pretty good attendance, so everybody was not at Beef O'Brady's. I was able to get a few people over here to the town hall. So, but we chose that day. I know some people asked why did I choose that day. After sitting down with the city manager and culling through our calendar, that was really the only day that I had available that did not conflict with anything else we had going on that day. And even earlier that day, we still had our Charter Review Committee meeting. So that was the only day we didn't have something conflicting with that. And actually, even though it was on St. Patrick's Day, that was probably the most well-attended meeting with the mayor that we've had since I've been having them. So it was still a good turnout, good discussion. Opened up the meeting just by talking about stormwater and communication, just providing some updates on that from the previous mayor town hall. And there were a few topics once we opened the floor that came up for discussion, one of those topics being Marina Island. There were some concerns that were expressed, and I've been talking with our city attorney about those. One of the concerns that was expressed was regarding deed restriction. Could they provide deed restriction in Marina Island to prohibit citizens from going into Marina Island? And so that was some expressions from the community about that concern. Also, another concern was infrastructure. Would Marina Island complete all of their infrastructure prior to building, or would they complete infrastructure in phases? And then finally, another concern was the investors' commitment to the long-term growth of Lynn Haven, that they wouldn't just come and build and leave, and then whatever issues are there, that we would suffer the repercussions for those. So those are some of the concerns about Marina Island. Another question that came up was regarding annexation, because we talked about our limited availability of land in Lynn Haven. And so the question was asked about annexation. Are there any plans for annexation? would Southport be a possibility for annexation, or some of the other outlying areas like a Grants Mill or other areas that are using our utility system, would they be considered for annexation? And then something was discussed about traffic, I guess in particularly from Highway 77 down Country Club Drive in regards to people speeding. And then I did mention to them that I had talked with Chief Ramey about certain areas, but you would slow down one area, they just go to the next street, and then we have to keep, trying to monitor those things. So those are some of the concerns expressed. And then finally, we had a discussion about our city's identity. The phrase Bay County's family-friendly city was mentioned by a citizen and were received by the other citizens. And another citizen requested that we put that on the, post that slogan on our website and our social media. Some other thoughts was, if we're trying to be a family-friendly city, how do we continue to enhance our quality of life in regards to our landscaping, green space, bike trails, sidewalks, and some of the things I mentioned in regards to follow up on those ideas and concerns was that our rails to trails would certainly enhance that, walkability, riding bikes. Also, our pocket parks provide green space throughout the city for neighbors to gather and to spend time together, and that we are working on improving the walkability of our city with the addition of sidewalks, especially in the older areas of Lynn Haven. And so, and then there was a discussion mentioned to them about our discussion as a commission regarding architectural districts. How would we like to see architecture here in our area, in the CRA and beyond? How would we like to see certain areas, in the design in those areas? And so, again, it was very informative. Mayor's Town Hall, very good discussion. Thank you to all who came out and participated and provided your input. And I look forward to our next Mayor's Town Hall, which will be this summer, and I promise it won't be on the 4th of July. And so we'll look forward to following back up with you all with the discussion from this, and then hearing additional ideas that you may have about that. This time we'd like to make our proclamations, one for Building Safety Month. Proclamation says, whereas our city is committed to recognizing that our growth and strength depends on the safety and essential role our homes, buildings, and infrastructure play, both in everyday life and when disasters strike. And whereas our confidence in the resilience of these buildings that make up our community is achieved through the devotion of vigilant guardians, building safety and fire prevention officials, architects, engineers, builders, tradespeople, design professionals, laborers, plumbers, and others in the construction industry who work year-round to ensure the safe construction of buildings. And whereas these guardians are dedicated members of the International Code Council, a nonprofit that brings together local, state, territorial, tribal, and federal officials who are experts in the built environment to create and implement the highest quality codes to protect us in the buildings where we live, learn, work, and play. And whereas these modern building codes include safeguards to protect the public from hazards such as hurricanes, snowstorms, tornadoes, wildland fires, floods, and earthquakes. And whereas Building Safety Month is sponsored by the International Code Council to remind the public about the critical role of our community's largely unknown protectors of public safety, our local code officials who assure us of safe, sustainable, and affordable buildings that are essential to our prosperity. And whereas Safety for All, Building Codes in Action, the theme for Building Safety Month 2022, encourage us all to raise awareness about planning for safe and sustainable construction, career opportunities in building safety, understanding disaster mitigation, energy conservation, and creating a safe and abundant water supply to all of our benefit. And whereas each year, in observance of Building Safety Month, people all over the world are asked to consider the commitment to improve building safety, resilience, and economic investment at home and in the community, and to acknowledge the essential service provided to all of us by local and state building departments, fire prevention bureaus, and federal agencies in protecting lives and property. Now, therefore, I encourage our citizens to join us as we participate in Building Safety Month activities, and by the virtue and authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Lynn Haven, on behalf of the city commission and all the citizens of Lynn Haven, I do hereby declare May 2022 to be Building Safety Month. In witness whereof, I do hereby set my hand and cause the seal of the city of Lynn Haven to be affixed this 22nd day of March 2022. And also, we have proclamation for Child Abuse Prevention Month. Whereas, Florida is committed to protecting its most vulnerable and empowering our children to reach their full potential and lead healthy lives. And whereas, each of Lynn Haven's children deserves a safe, healthy, and happy home where they are developmentally and educationally on a path to success. And whereas, child abuse, neglect, and other adverse childhood experiences can severely impact a child's lifelong health and well-being, and whereas children who are abused and neglected may suffer physical injuries, emotional and psychological difficulties, and long-term effects of trauma, and whereas research shows that parents and caregivers who support systems and seek help in times of trouble are more resilient and better able to provide safe environments and nurturing experiences for their children, and whereas every person should make children a top priority and take meaningful action to support children and families in their communities. And whereas during the month of April, Prevent Child Abuse Florida, in collaboration with the Governor's Office of Adoption and Child Protection, the Florida Department of Children and Families, and the Ounce of Prevention Fund of Florida implement Pinwheels for Prevention. And whereas Pinwheels for Prevention is a statewide coordinated campaign aimed to increase awareness of child abuse prevention efforts by encouraging healthy child development, positive parenting practices, and community support. And whereas the blue and silver pinwheel displays in this campaign are used to symbolize the health and happiness all children deserve. And whereas Child Abuse Prevention Month is an opportunity to encourage all Lynn Haven residents to put children first and engage in activities that strengthen families and communities. Now, therefore, we, Jesse Nelson, Mayor of the City of Lynn Haven, the Commission and residents of the City of Lynn Haven, do hereby extend our support to protect our children and observe April 2022 as Child Abuse Prevention Month. In witness whereof, I here have set unto my hand and caused the official seal of the City of Lynn Haven to be affixed this 22nd day of March 2022. In closing, I would like to circle back around to the question regarding racism and me saying something about it. I remember the newspaper called me and tried to and asked me about racism and the progress of minorities in our communities. And for those who read that article, one of the things I did say is that I hope that my election as mayor of Lynn Haven would prove that there has been much progress as it relates to race relations in our community. None of us are naive that are in this room. We know the numbers. Lynn Haven is 20,000 people approximately, 18,500 people white, 1,500 people black. And so I did not become mayor because only black people voted for me. When you look at the numbers, overwhelmingly, there were many white people that voted for me, or non-black people that voted for me, probably 3-1. And so certainly not naive about that. However, at the same time, I try to be a person of logic, that some of the things that were asked of me or assumed of me was somewhat probably based on my skin color. It was assumed that I was Democrat. That was assumed. Was it assumed that I was Democrat because I'm black? Was that the assumption? I don't know. But I'm registered as nonpartisan. I'm independent. That's what I've been registered since I've been in Bay County. But it was assumed that I was Democrat, maybe because of the color of my skin. I don't know. And so because of that, I received a lot of scrutiny for something from a party that I'm not even a part of, and being affiliated with the Democratic Party. There was also questions about my degrees and my diploma. I remember asking other mayoral candidates, did you get these questions about your diplomas and your degrees? They said, no, we didn't. And so I don't know why I was the only candidate that received questions about my doctoral degree or my master's degree and wanted verifiable proof of my diploma, that wanted to see it. I don't know. So we can make our conclusions and we can all make our assumptions. I have mine. Someone would defend theirs and have theirs, but we probably wouldn't agree on it. So is there racism in Lynn Haven? There's racism in America. There's racism everywhere. That doesn't mean that everybody's a racist. That doesn't mean that every white person I see I think is a racist, and it doesn't mean that every black person hates white people. But those are issues that we still have to work together as a community to get beyond, and coming together and seeing what we have in common. And I think that's how we continue to grow together as a community, is that we come together and we discuss the issues that are in our community, but we can't neglect the issues that are in our community. So if racism is an issue in our community, then it's something that doesn't need to be neglected. It's something that needs to be addressed and discussed, and to see what hurdles do we need to overcome in 2021 or 2022 in the 21st century to make sure that those aren't issues for our children. As I mentioned, my children still experience racism at school. My daughter's an 8th grader, went to a Christian school and had another student come up and call her and her friend the N-word right there at school. I mean, so it's still happening in 2022, but it's about how we respond to it. And so what I hope is that, we can all work hard and look at individuals as people and not based on the color of our skin. I mean, we've all heard the speech from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that you would look at me for the content of my character, not the color of my skin, that would make a difference. And I believe that's why I was voted as mayor of the city of Lynn Haven, is because there were many people who looked at the content of my character, hoped that I had good character in voting for me, and not necessarily the color of my skin. So those are my thoughts on at least what I can share publicly on my thoughts about racism in Lynn Haven. Commissioner Aldridge.
Thank you, Mayor. Mine's a little lighter, I guess. I went on vacation last week. I had a lot of fun. Riding horses is not for me. You can keep the horses in the Wild West. I'll keep the cars and where we are now. So other than that, I think we have our spring concert series starting up this week. I want to thank all the staff that's putting that together. I know it's a lot of work to put these events together, so I'm thankful for that. It's always a big hit every year. So everyone come out to that and enjoy yourselves. And again, I say it almost every week in these hard times that we're living in, try to get out and smile and laugh a little bit. It helps a lot. So that's my report. Thank you.
I thought the horse rider would go with your cowboy boots.
I like the boots, not the horses.
Commissioner Perno.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have much to report. I just, like as usual, thank our first responders and thank our city employees and all the people who are here who care about our city. Thank y'all for just being here. Thank you for your opinions. Everything we're talking about starts with your First Amendment right, and everybody has a right to speak, and that's why we have these meetings. So many people might perceive right or wrong from that, but the people get to speak their minds, and that's the good thing about our city. So I got an email Saturday, and I went to Mr. Carr's house. He had an issue with his front yard being underwater, and I saw it firsthand. And I forwarded. His email went to all of us, but we reacted to it. And I hope we're getting to the bottom of your issue or a solution. I drove by last night, and it looked like things had receded, but. Looks like the road comes to him from both sides, and I just hope we work with him and get a good solution for what he's going through over there. And then there was a gentleman here before from New York Avenue. I got him with Chris in the back, and I think we've solved his issue. Other than those two issues, I want everyone to know I'm always available, as all the commissioners are, to help solve any citizen issues. And the second you turn it over back to the city, to just push the information back to Vic, to Miss Gaynor, or any of the department heads, I see the wheels in motion. So I can't thank y'all enough for that, to react to our individual citizens' needs. So with that, I'll just end my report and thank you again. So
Commissioner Ward.
I don't have a whole lot. I went on vacation last week to Disney. A lot of fun.
spring breakers.
But I did have my time with the commissioner on Saturday. I had 4 people show up. I got some neat pictures about the old fuel depot and got to learn some history on it. And we talked about some issues that we talked about. As far as the storm we had, usually I get more emails or phone calls, and I'm hoping it's a sign that we are improving our stormwater infrastructure. I also got the same email from Mr. Carr. I was actually out there this morning when they met with Mr. Bobby Baker and Mr. Chris Lightfoot, and I only got one other phone call, and that was it. And so I'm hoping that we can take care of those problems. I think we've made a lot of headway. We still got some more work to do, but I think we've made a lot of headway. So I appreciate the staff and everyone for their hard work. And that's all I have.
Mayor, if I may, before, I know I finished my report, and just something that Commissioner Warwick said in his report, and I wanted to mention it, but the workshop we had on Marina Island, it stimulated a lot of people's opinions on what it was going to be, and I know we had a 1 and a 2, and some of the people that live over there, they got a hold of me afterwards, and I forgot to express my opinions to y'all. I'm sorry, but they kind of don't know how things are going to work with the way the first scenario was, because they jammed a lot of stuff in there. They just wanted to show, but I think it did its purpose, that it's got people talking about it. But so I mean, and I think we should let our citizens know nothing's in stone yet, but there's a lot of possibilities with Marina Island. But you know, some of it may never come to fruition, but yet, when you see the boathouse with the boats and the boat traffic, some people were concerned that lived in that area, but you know, that boathouse, you know, points A to B on how you build a boathouse. That might be on the other side. You know what I mean? It might be closer to the bay, going the other way, where people can have better egress coming in and out of the bay, kind of thing. So I just that's what I told the folks, is that they just tried to put everything in, all the amenities, everything, to show us the different styles of housings and stuff, just to show us what all the possibilities could be. Is it all going to happen? You know, we got to get way further down the road. So, but that's kind of the way I addressed it with them, and I thought that we should look at that as a positive and keep talking about it, and keep it stimulating as far as what it can be, and get it there. You know, before we go under. I got a few good years in me.
Thank you. Commissioner Tender.
Thank you, Mayor. I have to agree with Commissioner Perno. I've been doing a lot of talk about Marina Island lately, and I think the people who went through it 4 or 5 years ago are panicked because they went through it 4 or 5 years ago. But I also agree with you. The lady who did the presentation was trying to give us a scope of what could happen. If I'm being totally transparent, I couldn't understand half of what she said, so I just nodded. But I can look at pictures, and I saw the pictures. So
They just tried to put every style of housing in there.
I know, yeah, there was a lot to take in, but as long as the residents realize that that's not going to be exactly how it's going to be. I've had a few things come up in the last couple of weeks. I too received Mr. Carr's letter about the flooding situation, and we all received photographs of his intersection.
Oh yeah.
And it was quite, this was after a rain, not anything major, you know. This was just after a rain. It concerns me, and I'm just throwing this out there, it concerns me that that intersection, the elevation goes down. And then when you get out of his corner, it goes up. I'm not an engineer, don't profess to be one, but it just seems so simple to me. Why don't we just build up that intersection and put piping in there? And I realize the first thing we say is, well, that's $3,000 a square foot per pipe. But these people have lived there. We built that way. I believe the city, whoever put those streets in, did that. It's been that way for a long time. And I feel for Mr. Carr, because I don't think he has a whole lot of options. He can't just up and sell his house unless he professes and brings out to everybody, well, this is what it looks like after a rain.
I don't think he can take much more of it from
Right. But I just feel that entire area, and we're talking out by the going towards Old Sally Mae, and all of that, which you can get into that whole thing, but we're not going to talk about that right now either. Anyway, I'd like to see the city do something about that. I think it would be money wisely spent, because he's speaking up now, but before you know it, he'll have everybody that lives at that intersection in the same boat. No pun intended. Another issue I've been dealing with are the lights. Bobby has been working on this along with Mrs. Gaynor. The street lights on the other side of the Bailey Bridge that go down a private area. There's a small community there, very nice houses. I think there's 10 street lights. It started out with a resident calling me about the fact that 2 street lights are out. There are street ends in a cul-de-sac. There's a lot of drug dealing and a lot of not good stuff happening back there. And that's where one of the street lights are out. So Vicki dealt with it. She called, Bobby called, and this started February 6th, over a month and a half ago. The street light is they still have one not working. Now, last week, I called and talked to the vice president out there at the co-op. She proceeds to tell me that the HOA owns that. Well, that's not what I heard today. I got another phone call, and they're telling me they have the paperwork. City of Lynn Haven is responsible for those streetlights. Anyway, it just seems to me like, my God, it's a streetlight, you know? I guess I just like things done instantly instead of having to deal with them for months. But anyway, that's one issue that we're still sitting on and trying to get to. The other thing that I got brought up, I know I wanted to bring this up now, Mayor, because I would like to separate number 9 from the consent agenda until we can discuss it, or so that we can discuss it. I don't know when I need to say that, but I'm saying it now. And I want to thank Kiki, our finance director. I contacted her with a list of checks that I questioned the clarification, and I had the clarification on every check and who it was to and why and everything, and I really appreciate that. And I think that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. As we transition to the city manager's report, for those who missed the audit report, we received a stellar affirmation from the James Moore company regarding our finances. So thank you to our city manager, Kiki Roman, all of the team that works with our finances to get us on the right track and at an excellent pace and an excellent rating from where we were to where we are now. And so thank you all for that. City manager?
Yes, Kiki. This is our warrant report. Any questions?
Good evening. Questions about the warrant? Thank you.
Thank you. Just a couple of things to mention. First, we want to thank Michigan Barbecue for the great job of fundraising for our police department and our first responders. And then kudos to our police department for, again, moving up. We were 25, now we're 13, one of the most safest cities. What a great accolade for this city, and it surely is a testament to Chief Ramey and his entire police department of what they do in the city of Lynn Haven to keep us safe. We're looking at the 3-on-3 basketball tournament. Yes, last year we did it in the mid-summer of August, where we all fainted just about. Hopefully this year we'll move it up in June, and it'll be probably inside if we can find a place to have it, and I think Mr. Howard is working on that as well. A lot of you have been asking about splash pads. Those will be open April 30th. Those splash pad will be open April 30th. The Easter egg hunt will be April 9th. We'll open up at 8:30 with some activities, and then at 10 o'clock promptly we will start the hunt. That's always a great event for the city of Lynn Haven. Of course, we'll have spring concert series, and we kick it off with True Soul, which will start at 6 o'clock. We hope you all come out and be a part of that. Table Talk is March 31st. It will be at the Garden Center, and it will be at 5:30. March 29th, I just want to remind you of the workshop that will take place. It is the Future Land Use Map Amendment that's the one where we'll talk about whether or not the land will change from industrial to low-density residential. So that is March the 29th at 5 p.m. And surely invite everyone to come out and be a part of that. Just a couple of updates too on the dog park. If you notice, we've installed the heavier seats. A great resident came up and just asked us some things that could be done. We've done that. We're installing some lights. We're getting the signs. Those signs will be in a little bit. But we're getting all of those things and trying to take care of any safety issues that we may have. And then the lights. Yes, we have been working with that for a while. One of the things I think did come back is that it was just one of the lights was just not about replacing it. It was actually the fact that after they replaced it and it did not work, they were going to have to send it to the engineering office, is my understanding about that. So we are waiting for that to happen. After it goes out or it doesn't come on, then there's something else wrong beside the light. And so I think that's really where we are. Ditch digging continues. We're about 95% finished with that, and it surely has helped in many of our areas. We are not perfect, sure enough. There's still a long ways to go with stormwater. We're still looking at some of those areas we need to address. As you know, the only way we know that things are working is when it rains. And we were able to look at some areas and go back and revamp and discuss and see what could be done in those areas a little bit better. So, and also I want to commend also Mr. Howard for putting and implementing badges for all our volunteers and coaches that are out working with our children so that we can identify when they're on the field, just keeping our children safe and making parents feel good about being out doing those background checks and badges for anyone that's on the field while we give some great recreation for our kids. And that is my report.
Thank you. City Attorney.
Yeah, and I can just touch on the GAC facilities agreement. I know we may peel that off and talk about it separately, but I do know as of, well, first, I mean, the city's agreement is with GAC. We pay our payments to GAC, not to anybody individually. So that's our agreement. It's renewable. It's up for another 6-month renewal until we can get into our new facilities. I do know GAC, effective Friday, sold all of its operating assets and active contracts. I can only imagine the number of contracts and assets GAC has. I don't want to imagine it. But I do know from representing other clients in other cities, we've started to get letters from C.W. Roberts or from their parent company, Construction Partners Incorporated, notifying everybody that has a contract that, hey, effective the 18th, we own all their contracts and all their operating assets, so please direct payments to us. So if these facilities are in that pool of assets, which from what I haven't seen it yet, we haven't got that letter yet unless it's in the mail. But again, I'm sure they're just going through a long list of active contracts and then notifying all those parties and letting them know, hey, start sending payments to C.W. Roberts, Inc. So I would imagine that would be coming up, you know, unless for some reason they peeled that asset off and gave it to somebody else. But from what I've seen in correspondence to other cities is that they did acquire, C.W. Roberts, Inc. acquired all of their operating assets and active contracts. So I suspect we'll be getting some correspondence from them pretty soon, as soon as they get down the list.
All right. Thank you. All right. On to our consent agenda. We have the minutes from our regular meeting minutes from 3/8/2022. And we also have approval to renew the city's temporary facilities contract with Gulf Asphalt Company another 6 months. Does the commission want to remove any of these items from the agenda?
You want to pull it from the consent agenda?
I would like to pull it so we can talk about it.
All right, anyone else? Anyone else?
I'll second. Do we need a motion?
No, just consent.
Yeah, talk about anything.
All right, so we'll take that from the consent agenda. All right, so is there a motion to approve our regular meeting minutes?
So move. Second.
City manager, if you will call the vote.
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Purnell,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Mayor Nelson.
Yes, motion passed. I'll move agenda item number 9 under old business, since this is something that's been reoccurring versus having it under new business. And so discussion is open regarding agenda item number 9.
I'd like to know, the last time I heard, we were paying around 20,000. And I remember Mayor Pro Temp Dan Russell making it very clear, we don't pay 20,000, 23,000. We only pay 12 or 1,300 after FEMA pays the other 20,000.
Yes,
And so-
that's exactly
but
right.
technically, they're still collecting that kind of money from us every month. Until we know, as our attorney, do you recommend that we just go with this, since we know we're going to pay somebody that no longer owns the business? Shouldn't we wait to get a contract of, what if they
Well,
change things?
We certainly don't want to be in a position where our contract expires. So it's in 6-month increments, and so until we can know we're going to be able to get in that building being built, we need to have somewhere
Yes.
to stay, to have our offices. So, think about it like a landlord-tenant situation. If you're renting a house or a building and it sells, that person would take subject to that lease, so you get to stay in there until your lease expires. So I think it's in the best interest to extend that, ensure your right to be in that building and extend that contract and keep paying, because if we let it expire, there's no guarantee that they do a new agreement with us. So as long as we have the right to extend it and we have the need to be in there, there's nowhere else for us to go. My advice would be to go and extend it, lock our position in there as a tenant.
From a logical standpoint, though, how do we make the check out to GAC when they don't exist?
Well, I think they do exist. They just, what it looks like is they sold all of their assets.
Right.
Right. They didn't necessarily sell the stock in their corporation. They sold all of their assets and all their contracts. So until we're notified, we'll continue to send it to GAC, and then they'll have their accounts and books open. And if that was an asset, it'll be up to them to turn it over to the new owner. But that's not going to be our problem until we've been notified to send it somewhere else.
Okay. So there's no possibility that the new company, when they turn over our check made out to GAC to C.W. Roberts, that they can't come back and hit us with a new contract and charge more and make all kinds of stipulations. They
No.
cannot do that under
Not-
any circumstances.
Not, unless they notify, say we get something today that says, here, we bought it, here's proof that we bought it, send the check to us, then we need to send it to them. Or we can stop payment on our other check. I'm not sure when it's getting written, but we can do it the right way. But as of right now, our contract is with JC. We write the check to JC, and
Okay.
they'll handle it.
And I assume I'm looking at you, but I'm also asking Ms. Gaynor. I'm assuming that the other monies that we owe GAC, we're still continuing to write those checks to GAC.
That is correct.
Right. If we have any outstanding like construction contracts or road paving or whatever, we'll continue to do that until they send us. Like we just got a letter in Springfield about an hour ago, saying, we've got a road contract. Send it to C.W. Roberts now, and they're sending all the information. So, like I said, I'm sure they're just going through their list of contracts and notifying all the parties to those contracts, and they've got to have hundreds of them between public and private clients.
Okay. And if anything changes, obviously you'll bring it back to the commission.
Yes, ma'am, I sure will.
Thank you.
The only question I had was, the amount we pay for this is fully reimbursed by FEMA, right? The trailers?
Yes. Once we get all of our insurance in, we only can reimburse every 6 months. That's one of the reasons we changed it to the every 6 months. Yeah.
Thanks.
Additional.
Is this the last 6 months?
Not till City Hall's built.
You're exactly right.
Is that,
We're
or is
very
that
close.
is that too optimistic?
I think we're being very optimistic. I mean, we're on schedule. You know, our date is December 2022, so we're very close.
Yeah.
Commissioner Aldridge? All right. Is there a motion to approve the
Motion
renew?
to approve.
Second.
All right, any commentary from the public? No commentary. City Manager, if you'll call the vote.
Commissioner Aldridge?
It's Commissioner Warwick, I'm sorry.
Or excuse me.
Commissioner Warwick and then Commissioner Perno.
Commissioner Warwick?
Yes.
Commissioner, I don't know.
Perno.
Perno?
Yes.
Commissioner Perno? Commissioner Aldridge?
Yes.
Commissioner Tanner?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, motion passed. Now we'll begin our public hearing. Hearing beginning at 6:15. For the final reading of ordinance number 1129, application for voluntary annexation. Annexed -21-01 Wilson McKinney, parcel number 11-665-000-000. City Manager, if you would read this by title only, please.
An ordinance annexing into the municipal limits of the city of Lynn Haven, Florida, certain contiguous compact unincorporated land located in Bay County, Florida, for an approximate 0.974 plus or minus acres of property, as is more particularly described herein pursuant to Florida statutes, section 171.044, amending the boundaries of the city to include said land, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and reciting an effective date.
Thank you.
This is ordinance 1129, request for annexation, and this is the final reading of the ordinance and the public hearing. The owner is the estate of Vanzetta McKinney. The applicant, Michael Wilson, who is the personal representative of the estate. The agent is Sean McNeil from McNeil Carroll Engineering, and he is here tonight if you have any specific questions for him. The parcel number is 11665-000-000. The location is on the south side of East 19th Street, parcel size 0.974 acres, and it is contiguous to the city of Lynn Haven on the north, west, and south sides. One of the things that we have to be sure of before we're allowed to annex property in is that it is contiguous with the current city boundaries. Water and sewer are available to serve this parcel. This shows the location of the parcel. The parcel is this one in the red. This is Highway 77. That's the rails to trails. This is where Club Sun was, where Diego's is going to be. This is the aerial, and this shows currently what's in the city and what is not in the city. So currently this parcel is in unincorporated Bay County. The parcels surrounding it are in the city already, so they would like to bring this parcel into the city. And it actually looks as though it's going to make an enclave smaller, which is a good thing. And so that is the annexation request. Thank you.
Any questions for Planning Director?
Is there any easements or road access there?
So this is a right-of-way. Although currently East 19th Street does not go all the way along, there is a right-of-way that goes the whole way. So they do have right-of-way access there. But in this property's case, the person who is buying this to put a business on is also wanting to buy this if it's annexed into the city, or so we've been told.
Okay.
Additional questions? All right, any comments from the public? Is there a motion to
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been motioned by Commissioner Warwick, seconded by Commissioner Perno. City Manager, if you'll call the vote.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner Perno,
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Mayor Nelson.
Yes, motion passed. Public hearing closing at 6:19 p.m. Public hearing beginning at 6:20 p.m. Final reading of ordinance number 1130, application for small-scale future land use map amendment, SSA-22-03, Wilson McKinney, parcel number 11665-000-000, from Bay County Residential to City of Lynn Haven Commercial. City Manager, if you read this by title only, please.
An ordinance providing for the adoption pursuant to Chapter 163 Florida Statutes of a land use change from Bay County Residential to City of Lynn Haven Commercial for an approximate 0.974 plus or minus acres of property located on the south side of East 9th Street, right away east of Highway 77 in the City of Lynn Haven, Bay County, Florida. Parcel ID 11665-000-000, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith and providing an effective date.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. This is Ordinance 1130, a small-scale future land use map amendment. It is the final reading and the public hearing. When a property is annexed into the city from the county, it has to be given a city future land use map designation, as it currently has a county land use map designation. So the ordinance before was the annexation ordinance, so now it needs to be given a land use. The owner is the estate of Vanzetta McKinney, the applicant Michael Wilson, who is the personal representative of the estate. The agent is Sean McNeil from McNeil Carroll Engineering, and the parcel number is 11665-000-000. The location is the south side of East 19th Street, and the parcel size is 0.974 acres. The existing future land use category is Bay County Residential. The requested future land use category is City of Lynn Haven Commercial. The adjacent future land use map designations are to the north, commercial, south is mixed use, to the east is Bay County Residential, and to the west is commercial. So with the land use map designations, we have to look to see whether what they're asking for is consistent with surrounding properties, and there is commercial on the north and the west sides here. This again is the aerial showing you where the property is located. This here is the current future land use map, so you can see that it is residential Bay County. However, it has commercial to the west, it has commercial to the north, it has mixed use running to the south. This is what the map looks like now. If you allow for the land use to be changed to commercial, it will look like this. So the commercial will be next to the existing commercial, and you'll have all this area. That's actually Bay County commercial. So what you'll have is commercial on most of this, except for that mixed use. And I also want to add, I forgot with the prior one, but that these did both go to the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission did recommend approval for both of these items.
Thank you. Any questions for Planning Director?
Move to approve.
Second.
There's been a motion by Commissioner Aldridge and second by Commissioner Perno. Any discussion from the public? City Manager, if you'll call the vote.
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Perno,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Mayor Nelson.
Yes, motion passed. Public hearing closes at 6:24 p.m. Public hearing beginning at 6:24 p.m. Final reading of ordinance number 1131, amending annexation ordinance 855 to correct the legal description of the land located at 1801 Highway 77, parcel number 11605-000-000. City Manager, if you read this by title only, please.
An ordinance amending ordinance 855, which annexed land into the municipal limits of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, to correct the legal description of the annexed land located at 1801 Highway 77, which is approximately 1.19 acres more or less, parcel ID 11605000000, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
Yes, sir. This is the request for the approval, the final reading, public hearing of an annexation which is amending a previous ordinance, an ordinance that was voted on and approved by the city in 2006. Basically, when we were doing the research and getting the background information together for the parcel that we just annexed in, and changed the land use map on, we realized that this parcel here, when it was annexed in back in 2006, had the correct parcel number and address, but had an incorrect legal description for the property. And so what this ordinance is doing is correcting the legal description for that property.
Any questions for the planning director?
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been a motion by Commissioner Perno, second by Commissioner Aldridge. Any commentary from the public? City Manager, if you call the vote.
Commissioner Perno,
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Mayor Nelson.
Yes, motion passed. Closing public hearing at 6:26 p.m. All right, beginning public hearing at 6:26 p.m. Final reading of ordinance number 1132, amending future land use map designation ordinance 861 to correct the legal description of the land located at 1801 Highway 77, parcel number 11605-000-000. City Manager, if you read this by title only, please.
An ordinance amending ordinance 861, which amended the comprehensive plan to change the land use of a parcel to correct the legal description of the land located at 1801 Highway 77, which is approximately 1.19 acres more or less, parcel ID 11605000000, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Samantha.
Just as with the parcel next to it, we had an annexation ordinance, and then we had the land use map ordinance, which was changing the land use from Bay County to City of Lynn Haven. Back in 2006, they had the annexation ordinance for this, which had the incorrect legal description, and the ordinance for the future land use map designation also had the incorrect legal description. So this is correcting the legal description in the ordinance for that parcel for the land use map.
Same thing. Move to approve.
Second.
Been a motion by Commissioner Perno, second by Commissioner Ward. Any discussion from the commission? Any discussion from the public? City Manager, if you call the vote.
Commissioner Perno,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Mayor Nelson.
Yes, motion passed. Public hearing closed at 6:28 p.m. New business, discussion and possible approval to allow Emerald Coast Regional Council to apply for the Community Planning Technical Assistance CPTA grant program on behalf of the City of Lynn Haven. Ben?
Good evening. City staff has been working with the Emerald Coast Regional Planning Council on a grant opportunity regarding some funding for an economic development study. This grant opportunity is being offered by the Department of Economic Opportunity, and in a nutshell, the Emerald Coast Regional Planning Council is offering to submit the application on the city's behalf. Should the application be approved, by DEO, Emerald Coast Regional Planning Council would actually be drafting this study for us. So it is a win-win. There is no financial obligation to us should we not receive this grant. If the grant is awarded, it would go automatically to the Emerald Coast Regional Planning Council. And staff is recommending to approve the submittal of the application to DEO on city's behalf.
Any questions for?
I have one question. You said that there's no financial obligation for them to file it, but is there a financial obligation if we're accepted?
Well, if the grant is accepted, we would have to go through the Regional Planning Council. They would be preparing the study for us.
Okay.
Yes, but we would be using this grant to pay them for the study.
It's not like matching funds, I think is what you're getting at, right?
Oh,
Yes.
Okay, so doesn't cost us anything.
That is correct.
That's all. Thank you.
Any additional questions?
Move to approve. Second.
Been motioned by Commissioner Aldridge, second by Commissioner Ward. Any commentary from the public? City Manager, if you'll call the vote.
Commissioner Aldred,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yep.
Commissioner Perno,
Yes.
Mayor Nelson.
Yes. Motion passed. Meeting adjourned.